What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what you need to sacrifice if you want to escape poverty. One thing I would recommend, and I see this cropping up constantly, honestly. It's so recurring, it's so frequent that it necessitates an entire video. The one thing that you need to sacrifice, that you need to give up, is your perception of what is reasonable. You need to give up your perception of what you believe is reasonable. Most people stay poor because they've set an expectation in their minds of what a reasonable amount of work to get an outcome is, what a reasonable amount of effort is required, what a reasonable timeline is involved. Or they might just not even think it's reasonable and possible for them, period. And therefore, they never even take the actions that would maybe give them the opportunity to be successful at all. It is unreasonable to think that you can get fit after just 100 workouts. It's unreasonable to think that you're going to get rich after 100 cold calls. And it's unreasonable to think that you're going to get lean after just 100 meals. Well, maybe you could get lean, but maybe not healthy lean, right? You're not going to get big, strong muscles. A lot of people underestimate how much work goes into being successful and accomplishing anything of value. And it's funny because in life, the things that are the most worthwhile, the greatest, most valuable things tend to be on the other side of delayed gratification and compounding interest. That is, you can't just go do 1,000 push-ups right now and magically have the body of your dreams. You have to do 1,000 days of push-ups. And if you do that, if you extend the timeline and you let the work compound upon itself, at some point you look up and you realize that you've achieved this really great, valuable thing, which is a fantastic body. It's the same with a business. You can't just go and make 10,000 cold calls today and expect that to transform your business. But if you go over the next 10,000 days and every single day you make 1,000 cold calls, you're going to be freaking unstoppable. And so the thing that I find separating wildly successful, rich, wealthy, successful entrepreneurs versus where I was in my 20s, which was dead ass broke, living in a van with like really no fortune, nothing really to look forward to in my life, was I thought it was reasonable to show up and do an 8-hour work day, work 40 hours, and then call it a week. I thought it was reasonable to think that I could work my way up the ladder and that somehow that would someday get me to where I wanted to be. I thought it was reasonable that I could eat Taco Bell every night, and if I worked hard enough in the gym, it wouldn't really matter, right? The thing that's changed in my mind is what I consider to be reasonable now. It's just a higher standard. It's a higher expectation. I know that 100 workouts isn't going to get me there, but I know 10,000 workouts will. I know 100 cold calls won't get me to where I want to go, but I know it's inevitable. If I did 10,000 cold calls, that I couldn't not be successful, right? So you have to sacrifice your opinion, your belief about what is reasonable for you, for your life, given your circumstances, given your resources. And I get this a lot, is that we have an international audience, and a lot of people are not necessarily listening to this in the United States. A huge Indian demographic, in fact, listen. And one of the comments that I get a lot is, "Oh, that's easy for you to say. You're coming from the United States, and all that's so much easier for you." That is a limiting belief about what's reasonable. And I'm telling you that if you can just reframe in your mind the amount, first of all, that it is reasonable for you to achieve success. That's number one. Like, if you don't even start from that position, you're screwed from the start. You're never going to get to where you want to go. But once you lock in and say, it is reasonable for me to be successful in life, there's nothing stopping me from doing that. My circumstances, my relationships, my genetics, I can be successful. Number one. And then you become the right type of unreasonable, which is you set an impossibly high standard that 90% of other people would look at and say that's an impossibly high standard. But to the 10% that you want to be amongst your peers at the top of that mountain, they look at that amount of work that you are willing to put in and they say, yeah, no, that's not unreasonable at all. That's expected. Take this unreasonable amount of work and make it the expectation and do it for an unreasonable amount of time. And it will be unreasonable that you do not eventually find success. So that's going to do it for me, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.